arraignment on formal charges. According to an arrest affidavit, Logan City police officers received a report of the assault that purportedly occurred at a student housing complex near the Utah State campus. The alleged victim told police that she met and was communicating with Hageman through a dating app. On April 8th, the two were on a date when Hageman allegedly began touching the victim inappropriately and attempted to remove some of her clothing. The alleged victim claims she had to repeatedly remove Benson's hands, sometimes forcibly, while trying to resist his advances. 3 weeks later, Hageman called the woman because he had been banned from the dating app they were communicating on. He said the ban was due to his account being flagged for an alleged sexual assault and asked if she had reported him. The alleged victim made a recorded phone call with Hageman confronting him about the assault. He reportedly apologized and said he had pushed things too far. He also claimed to have been in other previous relationships that were unhealthy. According to jail records, Hageman was booked on suspicion of forcible sexual abuse, a second-degree felony. He will likely be charged in First District Court. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, low around 50. Sunny to partly cloudy, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, and the high in the upper 70s. Partly cloudy, slight chance of storms in the afternoon on Sunday, high around 80 degrees. It's been to 79. It's 73 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Bring back the sounds you've been missing. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
This is David from Roof Rescue. This past winter in Cache Valley was the worst in recent memory, reminding us of the sheer power of Mother Nature. Snow, ice dams, and record low temperatures left behind a trail of leaks, broken gutters, and damaged roofs. Let's get those issues inspected and addressed so that when next winter comes around, you can focus your attention on your family, the holidays, and winter activities instead of leaks, drips, and ice dams. Call today for your complimentary inspection at 435-999-4268 or visit us at roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 5:07. Governor Spencer Cox on Thursday announced a statewide initiative to increase awareness of the Affordable Connectivity Program, which aims to get more Utahns connected to the Internet. The ACP Act Now Utah initiative unites a number of stakeholders to close the broadband affordability gap. According to the governor's office, almost 350,000 Utah households are eligible for this federal discount on monthly Internet service, but only 16% of them have enrolled. Clint Cottom with Community Action Partnership of Utah says many are not aware of the ACP, which is part of the issue.
About 65% of our unconnected households are actually because of affordability, not because of infrastructure. Now, granted, there's still like 35% that are infrastructure related, talking about getting enough providers and overcoming some of those planning barriers, but really it's cost affordability.
Cottom says being able to connect to the Internet is essential for work, school, and healthcare needs, especially post-pandemic. He adds the state of Utah is starting to better understand that broadband access is as important as other utilities. Cottom says there's also a general distrust of government-sponsored programs for many rural and marginalized populations. He says community action agencies can help establish that trust to get more people enrolled. He adds not all populations in Utah have the confidence or skills to complete the online forms, and networks like his serve those communities. Cottom says nationally, people of color are disproportionately affected by lack of broadband connectivity.
We want to make this a service that's integrated with other things that can help a family stabilize and realize greater economic security. I want people to know it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to get help.
He says the bipartisan infrastructure law includes funding for affordable connectivity program outreach, which should help groups that are already working with lower-income clients. KVNU News Time is 5:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Covering Utah State sports like no one else. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. Celebrate freedom this year in beautiful Bear Lake with country music star David Nail. David Nail performing live Monday, July 3rd at Heritage Park in Garden City. Bring your blankets and lawn chairs. Activities start at 4. Free concert at 7:30. Yes, it's free. Food, fun, and fireworks and live music by country star David Nail. Monday, July 3rd. Go to bearlake.org for more information.
Back in Logan for one night only. Gary Morris. Gary Morris live at the Danes Concert Hall on the USU campus. Gary Morris, June 10th with special guest Hearts of Steel. Get your tickets now at the USU ticket office or at Ruby's Restaurant in Logan. Gary Morris, live June 10th at the USU Danes Concert Hall.
What is dedication?
My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
The way you water your lawn makes a big difference. Water restrictions and water costs have both increased over the last few years. The Lawn Doctor offers a popular service to help keep your lawn green and healthy while watering less. One application of our HydroGuard service reduces your watering frequency by up to 1 day a week, saving you water and money.
Watering help, weed, fertilizer, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to lawndoctor.com.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Hour 2 of today's show, Friday, June 9th. It is the For the People movie show. Andy Morgan is late, but he's on his way. I say that because he's listening. So, Demerits, Mr. Morgan Demerits. In theaters this weekend. Well, the one that apparently Andy didn't make time to see, shows you where his priorities are. It's Transformers Rise of the Beasts. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have gone either. This is it's got some people in it that people might like. Dominic Fishback, John DiMaggio, Pete Davidson, Peter Dinklage. And it is supposedly... it's like a flashback to the 90s, and the Dinobots get introduced finally. If you were a Transformers toy fan, you know what I'm talking about. But it has, it seems to have nothing to do with the original franchise. Not even attempting to continue the story or anything like that. Michael Bay not involved. But anyway, it's in theaters. It's playing at both Megaplex theaters here in Logan. The ones you should get excited about. Well, of course, Disney's Little Mermaid is still playing, and that is making some money for Disney. They've got to feel pretty good about this, considering that none of their other live-action interpretations of classic animated films have scored quite this big. They've had a couple of flops. They had some that did okay. I think it was Jungle Book. The live action Jungle Book did kind of okay. But this is the first hit they've actually had. And I'll be honest with you, I'm torn on that because I don't really like the idea of the live action. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't get the need. Just re-release the original. Everybody will still go see it, and then keep making other movies that people like, new stuff. But at the same time, Disney's got oodles of money, and I think it's hard to say that it's hard to say that anything's getting canceled because Disney's busy doing live action remakes. That's probably not the case. But still, I don't get it. I keep in mind that I was on the show even adamantly opposed to the remake of Pete's Dragon because I was a huge Pete's Dragon fan as a kid and still as an adult. And so I was kind of angry, actually, that they were making a new Pete's Dragon. I thought that was absolutely unnecessary. And then it was good. It was really good. So I try to keep that experience in mind before I completely, poo-poo something. But, I'm just not a fan. But Disney, again, has to be feeling pretty vindicated right now by the results of this in the box office. And what I mean by that is I think at this point we should expect Disney to do several more of these. Disney always does one too many, right? When it comes to sequels, when it comes to everything, they always milk it for everything it's worth, and so they'll do one too many. So I expect that with these live action remakes. But anyway, Disney's Little Mermaid still in theaters here in Logan, and still doing really well at the box office. Also new in Logan this weekend, though, if you're not, if you weren't waiting with bated breath for Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, the one that should have gone to DirecTV DVD but didn't, because that's not a thing anymore, then you can get excited about two others. It's a big opening weekend. Spider-Man Across the Spidyverse, rated PG. This was Marvel's first big risk in, and you'll have to correct me on this, I believe it was like Wave 2 or something like that, or Stage 2 or whatever it was, what we're calling it with the Marvel Universe. Act 2. This came kind of late in the game, and it came at the heyday of Avengers popularity and everything else, and everyone I think was fully prepared to just write this off as filler, and then it ended up being one of Marvel's biggest hits, the original Into the Spidyverse movie. So this is the official sequel. Miles Morales returning for what Marvel describes as the next chapter, so I'm assuming there's going to be several of these. Again, remember, this is animated, so actors aging out and things like that, or deciding not to do it anymore, they could still continue. This stars as voice actors Oscar Isaac, Daniel Kaluuya, Shea Wiggum, and Issa Rae, among others, and it continues the story, described as an epic adventure will transport Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood Spider-Man across the multiverse to join forces with Gwen Stacy and a new team of Spider people to face off with a villain more powerful than anything they have ever encountered. The trailer looks pretty exciting. It also looks a lot like what we got in the first film. And I'm saying that as a positive, but I'm also saying it for those who maybe saw the first one, it wasn't your thing. Don't expect something different this time. But this was a huge hit for Marvel. And I feel like it even sort of surprised them. And then finally in theaters also today, The Boogeyman. This is based on one of my, well, I wouldn't say favorites, but I think one of the Stephen King short stories that scared me the absolute most. Boogeyman, I think it's just the name of the story, not The Boogeyman. Entire short story it takes place in a bedroom. It's just a kid sitting on a bed in a bedroom, and yeah, it's just creepy. And they made it into a pretty low budget, made for TV short as part of some Halloween anthology in the 70s. I think it was the 70s, maybe early 80s. And it's, it was bad. Anyway, so it's easy to write that off and write this one off, that it might be the same. We'll find out. I'm skeptical, and some of the reviews that I've read, I'm skeptical. I had high hopes because, again, this is the Stephen King story that scared me the most out of his. It's from his first short story collection, Night Shift. So I read this when I was probably too young to be reading it, middle school, and just horrified me. I mean, just in a fun way. I mean, it's that scary. So it's one that I've always thought was perfect for a horror movie, but it looks like the second attempt at turning it into something is kind of flopping too. I don't know. Andy saw it, so we'll see if he has a different take than what I'm seeing from some of the major critics, who can be a bit stuffy, to be honest with you. The overall plot of this, different from the short story, but very much including the short story's plot. High school student and her younger sister reeling from a recent death in their family, their mother, and aren't getting much support from their distant father, who is a therapist dealing with his own pain over the loss of his wife. So when a desperate patient unexpectedly shows up at their home seeking help, he leaves behind a terrifying entity that preys on the families and feeds on the suffering of its victims. None of that is in the short story. The entity is the Boogeyman. That is, but they've had to invent, because in the short story, Stephen King doesn't supply any backstory for how this thing got under the kid's bed. But yeah, it's well, we'll see what Andy had to say. He has a review of that and the sequel into the Spidyverse, Spider-Man Across the Spidyverse. So those are the new films playing. Here in Logan, you can, of course, still see Fast X, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 still playing at both Megaplex theaters as well. And then if you are willing to make a bit of a drive, you can also see Mending the Line. I don't know a thing about this one, but that opened in limited release and is playing in Ogden, and has some big-ish names in it. But I don't know a thing about it. Other than that, those are your options for what to get out and see this weekend. I would recommend also checking out, we'll talk about this later on in the show, but also checking out some of the premieres coming to Netflix this evening. Those are not bad. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Super Mario Brothers, the movie, still playing as well. You can still see that here in Logan. But those are your choices of something to get out and see. And we'll find out what Andy thought of all of the new films in theaters today, right after this, as the For the People movie show continues.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Can you imagine what it would be like if you only had one option to choose from when buying a new car? Or while at a restaurant, they only offered one entree? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Hi, this is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. If your current insurance agent only offers one option, then it may be time to change. At Quality First Insurance, we have access to hundreds of insurance carriers. Auto Owners Insurance and Quality First will give you options. Quality First Insurance, 2129 North Main Street, in front of Fisher Home Furnishings.
It doesn't get better than summer camping in Utah, and it doesn't get any bigger than the Utah Summer RV Palooza, presented by Bish's RV. We're bringing the biggest RV show in the region to Layton, June 8th through the 10th. For 3 days only, the Layton Hills Mall is where you'll find a massive selection of top RV brands like Go Play, Ember RV, Forest River, Northwood, and a whole lot more. Get up to 20% below cost on select new 2022 RVs, and get 90 days no payments on approved credit for all play and no pay till September OAC. Summer RV Palooza is where you'll find a brand new 26 BH travel trailer. It's high quality at an undeniable value at a sale price of only $19,995. The selection is huge, and so are the trade-in offers. Get max value for your current RV when you trade in at the show. Shop the Summer RV Palooza now at Bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza. 3 days only, June 8th through the 10th at the Layton Hills Mall. Sponsored by Bish's RV.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show. Andy Morgan here in the studio with us. And Andy, how was my setup? I did my best to try and describe the movies. I don't mean to be so...
Are you being pessimistic?
Pessimistic about... I read... Yeah.
What'd you read?
This is the first...
Are we talking about Transformers?
Yeah, that's the one mainly. The Boogeyman, I feel like if you went to that, you kind of know what you're getting into, and I'm disappointed.
We're going to talk about that
in advance.
And we're also going to talk about the best movie of the year, maybe even the best movie since a long time. Definitely the best superhero movie.
Really?
Since the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame.
So would that include...
Probably one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I'm not going to tell you what it is. But it's not the Blue Beetle.
It's not the Blue Beetle.
I can tell you that.
And I'm assuming it's not Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
You know, the thing with Transformers is certain things... Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, or that, was talking about this in relations to Star Wars. And I think she has a valid point. And I think this is why Marvel has kind of dug itself a little bit of a hole right now, is... when you're churning it out just constantly nonstop, whether it all becomes vanilla is what it becomes.
Yeah. That started to happen a bit with the Avengers. I didn't realize it at the time.
Well, I think we tolerated it because we knew where we were going.
Yeah, and we wanted closure and completion.
Yeah, and so now it's like the prequels, right? We know where we've come from. We know where we landed. And now they want to keep it going, but we have no idea where they're going. And so the bar that they set, they just can't clear it anymore.
Yeah. And I feel like that, I mean, do you feel like, let me ask you, you know more about this world than I do. Do they see that coming?
Wait, the whole world?
Do they see that coming, or do they,
I
think have producers going, wait, what?
I think that I think they do. But I also think that there's some realities that we have to tie to this, which is the fact that if you make a movie for $200 million and it makes 500 to 600, just even worldwide, right? That's a significant profit at the end of the day.
That goes back to what I was saying at the start of the show about Disney and their... So I didn't want The Little Mermaid to flop. I was indifferent, but at the same time, I am kind of a little bit disappointed to see how well it's doing, because that means Disney's going to keep doing these, and I'm not a fan of not just this Little Mermaid, and this has nothing to do with the stupid controversy over.
Why are you racist, Jason?
I saw an actual grown adult making the argument that a mermaid can't be black and have red hair. And I'm serious. Every time I see that, I have two responses. One, get a life. And two, mermaids aren't real, man.
Well, and my issue with the whole thing is,
aren't.
Why is it a little mermaid? Were there other sized mermaids that we're not aware of?
One of the
Little Mermaid seems kind of creepy too.
Dumbest controversies I have ever seen play out. And kudos to Disney for just ignoring these bigots. But
12-year-old mermaid is like a 40-year-old woman. They don't tell you about that.
Honestly, you're arguing about a cartoon.
Well,
sir.
It goes back to
because it's always a middle-aged man.
When Rings of Power came out, and they were like, wait. Are you serious? There are no black elves.
Oh, I remember
there are
that.
real elves,
Well,
but no black ones.
Do you know what? There aren't elves.
Oh, wait. Are you telling? There's black Targaryens? I don't believe any of this.
Just absolutely blows me away what people will let themselves. Anyway, so yeah, I don't mean that. I mean, I'm not a fan of Disney making the cartoons into live action films.
They haven't been very good, so I would say your point is well taken.
But this one's making a lot of money, so I feel like Disney's going to be like, vindication.
We need to not.
We should do more of this.
We need to not pay attention to box office as much as we probably do.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. But I do think this means expect a lot of live action remakes from Disney.
Oh, they'll keep churning them out.
Oh,
don't you worry.
I wish.
You got Pinocchio. Well, have they done it? There's been too many Pinocchios.
I want to see a live action Goofy movie.
Gosh.
You cowards at Disney,
that
do it.
That just made me sad.
We'll be back with more of the For the People movie show right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KBNU News Time is 5:30. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Logan Extermination.
Bill bugs and grubs are beginning to hatch, and they are hungry. Your lawn is a smorgasbord to them, and they can't wait to belly up to the table. Get a jump on those bugs.
We'll get to the sponsor in a moment. While it's never safe to completely let one's guard down, it appears the majority of Utah's flooding concerns following this winter's record-breaking snowfall are now a thing of the past. It's the latest Outlook report from the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service. Officials say most of the snowpack in Utah's mountains has melted, with the remainder melting quickly. According to the report, as of June 1st, there was an average of 3.1 inches of snow water equivalent, the data which determines how much water the snowpack contains remaining in the mountains. Comparatively, there was 0.8 inches left at the same time in 2022. Utah set the state's record for largest ever snowpack in March with 26.1 inches of SWE, raising concerns for massive flooding issues as warmer temperatures arrived and melted the snow. Many looked back at the 1983 floods that inundated downtown Salt Lake City streets with water as an example of the possibilities that existed. However, the flooding was not as widespread as feared, and other than a few areas, including along the Bear River, that saw damaged ranch land and cattle deaths, Utah appeared to largely escape major damage. The report noted that officials expect most of Utah's reservoirs will fill this summer, except for Bear Lake, Strawberry Reservoir, and Sevier Bridge Reservoir. The Brigham City Museum is seeking artifacts and memorabilia for a Japanese exhibition to open sometime in 2025 about the contribution Japanese residents have made in Box Elder County in northern Utah. Brigham City Museum Director Ilana Blumenthal said many of the earliest Japanese initially came to work on the railroads in the mid to late 1800s. As the railroad work started, many of them settled down to farm. A small number of the Japanese community stayed in Box Elder County. At the start of World War II, many Japanese faced national and local prejudice against them after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Japanese citizens promoted understanding of Japanese culture and protected the rights of Japanese Americans. Many Japanese Americans enlisted in the armed forces reached out to Japanese American soldiers recovering at Bushnell Hospital in Brigham City. The museum would like to create the foundation of a Japanese American collection as part of their permanent collection. And a judge overseeing the case against a man charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students is set to hear arguments over a gag order that largely bars attorneys and other parties in the case from speaking with news reporters. A coalition of more than 30 media organizations has challenged the order, saying it violates the Constitution's guarantees of free speech and a free press. A lawyer for one of the victims' families has also made the argument in the case set to be heard today, but prosecutors and the defendants' lawyers insist it's needed to prevent prejudicial news coverage that could damage Brian Koberger's right to a fair trial. KBNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. If warm summer nights make it hard for you to sleep, check out the copper-infused gel memory foam mattress at U&I. You'll sleep cooler and more comfortable. There's always a better buy at U&I, 28 West, 1st North, downtown Logan. Storms go away, partly cloudy skies later on tonight, low around 50, and then sunny in the morning. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Saturday, high in the upper 70s. And KBNU News Time is now 5:34.
With summer here, our beautiful lawns face a new threat. It's a threat you can't see because it's happening below the grass level, at the roots. Those nasty bill bugs and grubs are beginning to hatch, and they are hungry. Your lawn is a smorgasbord to them, and they can't wait to belly up to the table. Get a jump on those bugs by calling Logan Extermination today. They'll apply a custom spray for bugs and also fertilize to keep weeds under control and your grass growing tall. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
A sweeping 37-count indictment accuses former President Trump of mishandling classified information and enlisting aides and others to help him keep it from authorities. ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
During his presidency, they wrote, Trump gathered classified documents and other material in boxes, including information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack.
Security now being ramped up at the federal courthouse in Miami, where Mr. Trump's expected to appear on Tuesday. The president and the first lady visited newly renamed Fort Liberty, North Carolina today, where he signed an executive order to expand employment and economic opportunities for military families within the federal government. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's quitting as a lawmaker now that he's going to be sanctioned for misleading Parliament. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
A lot of our patients end up having autoimmune conditions. This is where their immune system, rather than attacking bacteria, a virus, or other bad things, it starts to attack their own tissue. This can cause so many different issues and symptoms throughout the whole body. The biggest thing for us at Red River is to identify what's causing the autoimmune response to flare up. This could be intestinal problems, blood sugar imbalances, cortisol defects, hormonal imbalances, along with something as simple as dietary triggers and environmental triggers. One of the most common causes, too, when you have an autoimmune condition is you'll have inflammation throughout the whole body. Not every patient will have the same imbalances or the same triggers, and so we have to customize a very personalized treatment plan in order for these patients to feel better.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today. I do my hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling?
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show with Andy Morgan. In theaters again, new this weekend, Transformers Rise of the Beast, Spider-Man Across the Spidyverse, and The Boogeyman.
Every time you say Rise of the Beast, it just makes me chuckle.
Rise
I don't know
of the
why.
Beasts.
No idea why.
I saw the trailer, and don't get me wrong, as a kid, I had all the Dinobots.
Yeah.
I had all the toys, but I saw the Dinobots
I didn't know
the
there
trailer,
was,
and I just...
I know that they had that one.
Nope.
What was that? Age of Extinction.
Yeah.
Let's get back to this really
the
quick.
one that was 40 minutes too long.
They're all 40 minutes
They had
too
that
long.
40-minute fight scene at the end, and it just was too much.
Actually, this, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take this and we're going to bleed it into the Boogeyman, and I have a great way to do it. Here's why. So, once you show something, right? So you have Transformers that comes out in 2007, and it's like the first time that a lot of like 80s kids too, right? Like you and I were talking. It's the first time we got to see these things that we grew up with in like a non-animated fashion that was just fabulous, right?
And let's be honest, they were never quality, but they were cool. They were cool. That first and second one especially were very cool.
And that's what so this is my point, is that more often than not, as you get, as you produce more and more, they lose their flavor, really. They lose, you know what I mean? They're just not as exciting because you're like, I've seen this. Not every franchise is quite like this. I think sometimes some of them can stay above the fray. Things like James Bond, or I'll even throw Star Wars there a little bit because you can change things up. But things like Transformers, things like the monster movies like King Kong, Godzilla. I would say the same thing also applies when you're talking about just anything with like Jurassic Park, dinosaurs, right? Yeah. We see it the first time and you think, oh my gosh. So unless you can improve on that, then it's just watered down. And that's where the Transformers movie is. Now,
they should have stopped after the second, probably.
Well, here's my thing. I don't care if I don't think they need to ever stop. They just need to give it a rest and come back to it, right?
That's what I mean. I think some of these franchises you could keep rebooting every 10 years.
But Here's the thing.
But you can't make a movie every 2 years.
Well, but here's the thing, right? I guarantee if you and I were sitting in a boardroom right now with a bunch of Hollywood executives, including the accountants, and they would push a paper in front of us and they would say, look, this cost
ROI
$170 million to make.
Yeah.
And that includes, the entire production budget, salaries, marketing, everything, right? So you have $170 million, and then they push another number in front of us that says the worldwide box office total at the end of the day was $800 million, right? And so they made $600 million. Like, that is not right.
Yeah.
That there's just, you can't argue with it. So at the end of the day, we can say what we want about, hey guys, slow down, or hey, don't make those moron live action Disney movies, and they just don't. It doesn't matter because it's printing money until there's a giant flop, like huge flop. Like, I would say probably the closest thing to a flop this year has been Fast X.
Yeah.
But that's about, and Shazam.
Yeah, and that deserved it. I finally watched that on
it's terrible.
Max.
Did
we talk about this already?
A few months ago.
Big face plant here. Wow,
I don't understand.
HBO, the company that usually makes really good decisions, just made some really bad ones.
Well, it doesn't make sense
marketing-wise. And
I get it. They don't want to have it just be HBO. They don't want people to think it's just HBO. I get it. I get it from a branding perspective, but it feels like it's like we're coming. It's like when Gap redesigned their logo and they were like, "Hey guys, we're going to go from this to this. We're going from Helvet. We're going to stop using the Arial font, and we're going to go to this, whatever."
Yeah, but honestly, like,
you're like, wait, those are two different fonts?
This seems like such a little thing, but to force everybody to have to log in again because you decided to change the name and the branding, you don't need to do that.
Yeah,
that was and it's such a so millions of people have this set up on their smart TVs, their phones, their tablets. And now they have to go remember what their password was and all this stuff just because you decided to change the logo.
Just so everybody knows, mine is password 1234.
It's just really dumb. Anyway, I watched Shazam, and that one deserved to be a flop.
That was all. Yeah, and Zachary Levi. I was like, hey, wouldn't that be cool if Shazam just flew away and never came back?
Yeah. You're kind of hoping for it.
I was crossing my fingers.
Just go to a different movie, man.
But let's bleed this into Boogeyman.
Okay.
Right. The Boogeyman, which is based on a Stephen King short story of the same name.
Do we need to say loosely?
Yeah, loosely. So,
okay. That's what I'm disappointed about in advance.
Yeah, so what this basically is the short story that Stephen King wrote is a man going to see a psychologist.
Yeah.
Talking about, this thing that has taken his kids, right?
Yeah.
And they talk through it, and then
the psychologist, of course, is assuming he's delusional.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So the man leaves, and he comes back, and because he forgot something, and in the psychologist's office is the Boogeyman taking off like a psychologist suit, basically. Like zipping it up. Like, whoops.
Yeah.
You caught me.
Oh, you caught me.
It's creepy. It's a really scary story.
Oh, it's really creepy.
So what they do in this situation is they take that, and that's actually split into two parts. A part at the beginning of the show, and then later at the end. But then they kind of blossom it out, and it's
which I get they have to do.
It is, and
it's a short story.
It's still creepy.
Isn't it only like 20 pages?
Yeah,
or
it's
something?
super short.
Yeah.
The issue with the Boogeyman, I mean, it was creepy. I will not lie. But it's not. It was like PG-13 creepy. And here's my issue. This is the only bad thing about the Boogeyman is once you reveal the monster, then it's done at that point. You've just not, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. Steven Spielberg did it excellently in Jaws.
Yeah.
Right. He waited, and the thing is that when he showed it, there was still some menace left because it's almost like you just got a glance.
Well, that's literally in Jaws. I think the best thing Steven Spielberg ever did was that scene where Roy Schneider's chumming and looking at the camera, and the water's behind him, the ocean's behind him, and you just see the nose and the teeth.
Well,
and I thought that was brilliant reveal. because it gave you a hint at size.
And you see a little bit of it, because there's two things before that, right? When the Kittner boy dies, and you see this just like this behemoth surge of water and blood, and you go, wait, did I just see what I saw?
Yeah.
But you're still, your imagination's running wild. And then it's the same thing when, you know, when the shark gets into the pond, you know, and the kayaker or the guy in the canoe.
Oh, yeah.
Or not in the canoe, the dinghy. He loses his body part.
Yeah.
But you still don't see, you see a little bit, right? And it's enough to make, you know, but you don't see the full reveal till the second, you know, third of the movie. The Boogeyman makes the mistake of you just see enough of the creature too soon in a couple different formats. The one of the kids draws it, and then you see, like, you know, it kind of scurry under the bed and things like that. One of the things that makes like the movies like The Conjuring and Insidious so great is that sometimes it's not about what's really there; it's about what you're being told is there.
Oh yeah, the hands clapping in the wardrobe.
Yeah,
in which Conjuring is that?
Or remember when the girl is just like she's like they're standing right behind you, and there's really nothing there. It's just dark. So anyway, that stuff is creepy. It's not bad. I think I gave it a C+. It just loses steam once the monster comes out. I'll be honest, for probably about, I don't know, maybe half the movie, I had my fingers in my ears and my eyes were barely open.
Oh,
and then I right when they showed the monster, I was like, well, that's it. I'm good now.
That's kind of what I'm curious about. One thing, because this is there's an actor in here playing a serious role that I haven't seen in a serious role before. It's the guy. So some people are going to know him from The Dark Knight. He's the fake police officer that Harvey Dent kidnaps.
Well, he's also in the Suicide Squad,
and he's Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad.
He's in Ant-Man as the Russian partner of the whole crew. You know, the Ant-Man's running crew.
And it's David Dastmalchian, I think is how you pronounce his name. But this is the first time he's played just like a straight up.
He's only in the movie. He's in the movie
role.
For like 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. He's the psychologist?
Nope. No, he's the man that comes to visit the psychologist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I was curious about that because I haven't seen him in a, you know, just a straight. He's been on TV and stuff, I know.
Well, what I can say is that if you lived in the 80s and had to experience things like Christine and Cujo, and the Lawnmower Man,
at too young of an
and
age,
The Running Man, the Stephen King movie and TV adaptations have got substantially better.
Yeah.
So enjoy it now. I mean, even it back in the day.
that original is kind of campy when you see it. Cujo was the one that I remember horrified me as a kid because I think my older cousins rented it for me when they were baby. So we would miss
Children of the Corn was mine.
That was another one. The meat grinder scene.
Just the whole
meat slicer.
The whole coffee shop scene was not pleasant.
Just awful. And Maximum Overdrive with the killer vending machines.
When it shot the basement.
Stephen King basically traumatized me, but he did it through older cousins who would rent these movies when they were babysitting us while all our parents went out to a movie.
Didn't somebody...
And I was like 9.
Didn't somebody die in Maximum Overdrive? Not in real life, but in the show. Doesn't like a can of pop like shoot out of the
vending machine hits him in the head with a Dr. Pepper.
So dumb.
There's also a electric knife that goes rogue.
My mom wouldn't let me see those, but she would buy me the Fangoria magazines so I could look at the
Which, to be honest with you, same. But those were still images of the gore and violence. It was ironically worse than the movie, and you could buy them at the...
Yeah.
I remember I'd walk up to the convenience store near my house when I was a kid, and it would just be right there, and I'd buy it. And
I was like, what is this movie? Reanimator. I gotta rent this.
Still haven't ever seen that one.
But, it's not worth it.
I did finally see American Werewolf in London, which was one that was talked about in Fangoria
just
all
recently?
the time. Yeah, just a few years ago. Pretty funny.
The scene in that horrified me is when the werewolf is in London and like the bus crashes and like it's like kind of like running around in the sea. I was like, this is horrid.
Yeah,
this is horrific.
I remember there were a few of those. I've said it before though. The horror movie made for TV that got me the most was I look for it if you ever get a chance. It has somebody famous in it. I think Brian Dennehy plays the sheriff or something. but who's a bad guy, or someone that was in a lot of movies around them. But it's called Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
That sounds horrific.
There's an autistic kid who is accused of a crime and hides in a scarecrow. And a vigilante mob comes to his farm, finds him in the scarecrow, and then they basically just open fire. He didn't commit the crime he was accused of, and so he comes back as a scarecrow to get even. And there is a horrific drowning in a grain silo scene, which I knew this was. I'd heard these stories growing up in Agland,
These make me sad.
I'd heard these stories of this happening, and there's a scene, and it just, I had nightmares. But yeah, so Stephen King, all of these, I saw him at way too young of an age, and I was thinking about that with the Boogeyman, that here he is, like, this is now the third generation that he's traumatized.
That he's freaking out. Yeah, I agree.
So before we go to the break, Boogeyman, see it, don't see it?
I'd say if you're a fan of Stephen King, or you want to just, kind of a dumb, like, scary movie to whatever, go with your friends.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I like I said, I liked it. Will I ever see it again? Probably not.
Okay, fair enough. That's better than I expected, actually, from what I'd been reading. So maybe I'll put that one back on my list of things to see.
Well, what you're going to need to put on your list is what we're going to talk about next.
I'm excited about this. Coming up on the other side of the break, the sequel to Into the Spidyverse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse from Marvel. Andy's review right after this.
Cache Valley Cruising, Cache Valley Cruising.
Are you ready for Cache Valley's biggest party? Rev your engines and join the fun at Cache Valley Cruising, June 29th through July 1st. This year, they're giving away a gorgeous 1973 Camaro Z28, silver with black stripes. And your ticket is your entry to win the car. But that's not all. The Top Rod of Utah returns, where you can feast your eyes on cars worth big money. And let's not forget the excitement of the poker run, the sock hop, and the swap meet, where you can find unique products and fun gift ideas. Then, get ready to catch the wave of nostalgia with the legendary Beach Boys as they perform all your favorite hits. Tickets are selling fast, so go to Lee's Marketplace or the Cache Valley Cruise-In website to buy tickets now. June 29th through July 1st at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
Woo! Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show. It's the moment everyone's been waiting for. Well, Marvel fans, at least. It is time for Andy Morgan's review of, I think, the most anticipated sequel in quite some time when it comes to the Marvel Universe. Mainly because everyone wants to know, can they pull it off? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
And, it's got the Marvel tag, obviously, because it's a Marvel... Because it's Spider-Man.
I wondered about that.
This
because
is
wasn't
Sony.
There a fight between Marvel and Sony on this?
This doesn't have like Feige's
hands.
not
involved.
Nope.
But yet
not even tied over.
But yet it ties in with the future of Marvel.
Nope.
Doesn't it?
No.
I thought somehow.
I mean, it does. It's its own thing.
Okay.
There is some references, especially in this one,
because the multiverse is a Marvel thing,
right? And in this is more of like the worlds with Spider-Man. It's Phil Lord, right? And it's Lord and Miller. We'll just call him that.
Miller.
Yeah, and it's just for by way of. I want to point this out too because the Utah Film Critics in 2018, when Into the Spider-Verse came out, we awarded it Best Animated Picture. But not only Best Animated Picture, but we also awarded it Best Picture.
I think so. I rewatched that this week, and that was one of the most pleasant surprises I can ever remember.
Yeah.
I went into that expecting to not hate it, but to not be wowed.
Yeah,
and it ended up being one of my favorites.
The animation in that is, it's I was trying to think of a way to talk about that, and also this one because this is just an extension of it. It's like being sucked into a comic book. Like that has the animation is so distinct. Like it separates itself, right?
Yeah.
You see some things sometimes and you're like, oh, this looks like Pixar. Oh, this looks like DreamWorks. Oh, this looks like Illumination, whatever. This is just on its own.
It looked like a comic book. I thought that was so cool.
And
that spray paint, that graffiti scene in the first movie.
Yeah.
Just I could watch that again and again just to see the animation. It's so amazing.
Well, so this picks up, after the events of the first movie.
Same director, right?
Same. Yeah, 3 directors.
One of them's the same.
And what ends up happening in this, just to give you just a kind of a minute long kind of plot summary, is similar to like what you've seen in other Spider-Man movies. Miles has this, he's got this power, he's got a suit, and he's just trying to kind of balance a bunch of stuff. He's still going to school at that, the Voyager school or whatever it is. He's only 15 years old. he's trying to help. He's typical Peter Parker kind of fashion where he's just, he's funny, he's sassy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And anyhow, he's trying. I think he's trying to decide whether he wants to tell his parents or not if he's, the he's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he's struggling with that because they're struggling with him, just because he's all over the place, right?
Yeah,
but then the movie actually opens up with the first, in the first movie, Gwen Stacy, who plays Ghost Spider, the female Spider-Man. That's voiced by Haley Steinfeld. It kind of shows like what happened in her universe.
Yeah.
And she gets pulled in and learns of other Spider-Men people. That's probably the right word. Spider people.
Spider people.
From Spider Things in some regards that are from like just every possible dimension, again, the multiverse.
Yeah.
And she kind of joins this squad, and that's their job, right, is to kind of keep things in order. Anyhow, she comes to visit Miles. I won't get into some of this is spoilery, but, Miles has this, he's got an arch nemesis now, that's played by Jason Schwartzman, this bad guy named Spot. It starts out as really funny, then it gets kind of creepy. But
that's brand new. That wasn't set up in the first one, right?
No, but they actually tie it back, and it's really, really funny.
Okay.
It's one of those things that you're just like, okay. But
I appreciated that about the first one is that it was very funny and not like cartoonishly funny. It was like
this is the same
like the
way.
Iron Man movie's funny. That sardonics,
This is again, I can't say enough good about it. I mean, the cast is fantastic. The animation is just absolutely breathtaking. It's funny. It's got action. It hits on every single possible level. And there are new people that joined at this time. Oscar Isaac plays Miguel O'Hara, who's another Spider-Man. Daniel Kaluuya, he comes in. He plays this British Spider-Man called Spider-Punk, who's like an anarchist.
Yeah, that's in the trailer.
Yeah, and then Karan Sony comes in. People would know him as I think it's Doppelganger in the Deadpool movies, the guy that drives the cab.
Okay.
He's
very funny.
He's like
the guy that almost dies like 300 times.
Yeah, he's like almost like a Indian Bollywood version of Spider-Man. Jake Johnson is back.
I love that the 3 directors they have. I looked into them before the show today. They come from one of them comes from like he did Soul, Disney's Soul.
Yeah,
he directed that, and then one of them directed either the first or the second Cloudy with Chance of Meatballs, which was actually
breathtaking. That wasn't
Pixar.
That's Lord and Miller too. These guys.
Was that DreamWorks?
That's DreamWorks.
DreamWorks. Yeah. So they have a DreamWorks person, a Pixar person, and then this Joaquin Dos Santos who did a bunch of anime stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah,
the 2005 one, and throwing them together, that's just really unique to me. I'd like to know how that decision was made to pull these 3 directors together in one film.
For how complicated this movie is, it makes sense. But yeah, like I said, super impressed.
Very cool. So definitely see it.
Yeah, A+. I didn't even give it an A. I gave it an A+.
An A+? Is that the first of the year?
I've given A's, but I've never given an A+ in my history of ever giving movies.
Oh, that's right. First ever A+. for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse playing in Logan, both Megaplex theaters this weekend and probably for a while. That's our time for this week. Andy will be back with us next Friday at 5 for another episode of the For the People movie show. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.